Good evening, friends. We have reached week 6. Most of us, me at least, are doomsaying and hating every bit of fantasy football right now. The good teams are not good. Me. The bad teams are good. Stevie. It's been a rough week. I had a lot of inner. I had to look inward this week a lot. Dan, with me as always, Dancing Squirrels, Dan Metzger. I'm Ryan, part-time ninjas, full-time losers. What's up, buddy?
I mean, that's the most accurate opening you've ever had to this show. I mean, you just take some truth serum today or something?
Look, man, gotta call it like it is. I'm not even on my own playoff list anymore. You can't get.
I took myself off my list too.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was doing my show sheet tonight, I was like, I'm gonna be a very much Dan Metzger on this show. Like, I'm so fucking down on my team. In case anybody was wondering, even on holiday, Lee chimed in. Get him in. He's here for his weekly plea, and everyone will be happy to know I have emailed the man. We have made email contact. As of now, he will be on the show next week. So
Awesome.
we just have to figure out his schedule because, he's between 12 and 13 hours ahead of us. So it's just figuring out which day works for me, him, and Dan. I don't even have trades up yet, Dan. I don't even know if there were trades this week. That's how.
I think a lot of just people putting people on trade blocks and knowing what they're making any trades.
I have a feeling after this week, we're going to start seeing the sellers actually start to sell. Nope, George Kittle was the last trade. Dan, you want to talk about that trade a little bit more?
If my team didn't suck, that would have really hurt my feelings.
Yeah, that's the thing is I've been busting your balls about quarterback choices this all season. I don't even know if your quarterback choices have mattered. Your team is so good at wide receiver. They just really need to get the rest of it together. Hopefully you get Aaron Jones back after a bye week. So let's talk about week 5. I'm going to eat a little crow to start the show. The Bengals apparently are not dead, and neither is Kenny. I said he was mailing it in. He dropped like 122. I think he still lost, but he dropped 122. I shit talked them both last week, so we can add that to my many L's in this week for week 5. It was not a great showing for myself. Not to mention, I'll jump ahead. I went 3-4 in picks. Dan, you went 6-1, which I think is pretty easily the best week we've had this season. I went 5-2 a couple of times. But let's get back to week 5. Dan, do you have any takeaways you want to throw out there?
I mean, I think a lot of people need some truth serum about their teams, my team included. I mean, I understand 3-2 isn't terrible. I'm third in points scored. Third from the bottom, not third from the top.
I was going to say, that's not how my stats
No, third from the bottom. My team is not performing well at all. We need to turn this around. It is hard to watch.
I agree. I mean, I'm calling out Patrick Mahomes, man. And I guess we need to talk about quarterback scoring because JR was crying. Got the new guys riled up. I want to point out a few things about our quarterback scoring and defend it. Rob, years and years and years ago, chose 50 yards per point. And I think it was an effort that in most fantasy leagues, quarterbacks run away with scoring, and we wanted to be different. I added that interceptions should be heavier penalized, and I like where it's ended up, but this is some things I've learned, Dan. Don't do any math on this. Just tell me what you think this should be worth in fantasy football. 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think that is pretty much the standard NFL quarterback game. What do you think that should be worth in fantasy points?
An average quarterback. I mean, I just, to me, like, I don't think that's a great game. I don't think it should be outscoring receivers and running backs to have great games. I think that's an okay game. I'm not excited about that. You know what I mean? It's like if my quarterback, if I know this week, I mean, I'd take it on my team. My team only gets 3 points.
Well, obviously, yeah.
On a regular fantasy football team that's good, if my quarterback does that, I'm not real happy. I want more out of it.
Yep. So let me throw it out there. So in 4-point touchdown scoring, that is 16 fantasy points. That equates to the QB 14 on average. In 6 points, it's 20 fantasy points, which I think is way too many. That's the QB 13. In our league, it's only 14 fantasy points. It's the QB 14. So ranking wise, it's still very balanced. Every quarterback gets judged on the same scale. But what we've done is, you've said it best right when it got started, an average performance shouldn't be beating wide receivers and running backs every single week. So that was our thought process. So JR, get better. That's something we're going to talk about with your team at quarterback. And then I want to throw out, we've talked a lot about a lot of teams' wide receivers this season. One team whose wide receivers haven't come up yet, Phil's wide receivers are nasty so far this season. Stephon Diggs is the wide receiver 2. Adam Thielen, I think, is the wide receiver 10. Jacoby Myers is the wide receiver 20 on a missed game. I feel like we need to give him a little bit of credit on stacking these wide receivers. And like he picked up Myers and Thielen, I think, in trades. If he can get his quarterback play and just average a run, but I mean, quarterback play, Dan, seems to be the theme for probably half the league at this point. So.
I literally just left a wedding with Phil, and he was literally telling me about he's about to make his run. That's all he was talking about.
All right.
He didn't want to talk Master McKinley right now, but
yeah, I kind of figured not.
He wanted to talk about how he's about to make a run.
Yeah, I was going to say this is the week where Phil and maybe new Rob now go at Dan and Dan goes at them. And that's just what's going on. So yeah, for my notes, Dan, I had Bengals, Phil's wide receivers, and QB scoring. Anything we didn't talk about that you want to get in?
No, I think that covers it all. I think our scoring in our league is perfect. I have no issues with it. I wish people and maybe defenses and IDPs would be a little more consistent, but that's not a scoring issue. That's just the way the NFL is issue.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I definitely pumped our defense scoring up, and our IDP, I just tried to make everything equal. But you're right, the consistency just hasn't been there. But I am happy to see one thing that I wanted to make changes with IDP is I wanted to see more corners getting played, and I noticed Jesse Bates and one other, the guy just started the corner for the Chiefs this week. We're actually starting to see corners get played, which was a big part of me making that change. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I have Dax Hill in my starting lineup as well.
Oh, you do? That's right. You have Dax Hill. That's right. So I'm liking what we're seeing there. Dan, week 6, as I mentioned, I went 3-4 last week. I am 19-16 on the season, so still above 500. I would venture a guess you're above 500. One of these days, I'll probably go back and try to figure out what you are. But you were 6-1 last week. You played your game where you picked against yourself, so you're happy either way. I don't think you're happy either way, but that 6-1 sure sounds nice.
I would much rather have been wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And then I forgot to keep track of Taylor's picks, and I don't think anybody's even watching the show right now. We're talking to ourselves, but that's okay. Dan, it's week 6. I listed these as I always do in order of an importance. I don't think there's any way we could not have the least important game. Our 2 newbies, both sitting with 1 win. Rob P taking on Eric. I have Rob P winning this game. When you look at it, it's a very equal matchup, which I guess you might expect out of 2 1-win teams. I think Eric's running back should win, but Rob P's wide receivers make the difference. And what I noticed this week, first of all, we have a lot of really good matchups this week. Wide receivers making the difference seems to be kind of the theme. This could be closer if Sam Laporta was healthy, but right now with an injured Sam Laporta where they're not even 100% sure he's playing tomorrow, it's likely he plays. I'm just not ready to switch anything based on that in this game. So give me Rob P.
No, I agree with you completely. I have Rob winning as well. I do think it will be a close matchup. I don't like Stroud going against the Saints defense. I think the Saints defense has been pretty tough this year. Mixon going against Seattle is not a fun matchup either. Mixon hasn't been scoring a ton of points to begin with.
He's been very average.
Yeah. So I expect Rob to take the win.
Yeah, and Sauce Gardner out for the Jets. Not that he makes a huge difference, but now you have A.J. Brown and DJ Moore easily drop 40 this week. Not to mention Zay Flowers taking on Tennessee, who typically gives up some of the most points to wide receivers. So, yeah, I definitely think we're both going to agree on that one. Let me put your pick in here so I remember it. Which brings us to – this was interesting because they're both very good teams. I just don't think there's a whole lot of playoff implication on this game. We have Darren versus Terry. Terry sitting at 3 wins. Darren undefeated, only undefeated team in the league, sitting at 5 wins. Dan, go ahead and get us started on this
one. I have Darren winning. I think his team is just stacked. Terry's team, I think there's a chance with Eckler coming back. That could really put him in a good spot. I don't like Goff going against Tampa Bay's defense. I just don't understand. Like Darren's team is just really, I don't know how someone managed to trade him Hurts and Walker in the offseason, but here we are.
I was gonna say, no matter what happens, it's always Phil's fault. You hit on a point that I had at my end game here. So I also have Darren winning, and I personally think it's a blowout. Especially with Darren starting up 17-0 on the kicker battle. However, you hit on a point that I ended my notes with. Even if Terry remembers to start Justin Herbert over Jared Goff, I don't think it makes a difference here, but you would go Herbert in this situation, right?
I forgot he was non-biased. Yeah, that's what Terry just needs to update his thing. I still think Darren wins, but
yeah, Darren's wide receivers are too much, plain and simple. Again, get used to hearing me say that for a lot of matchups this week. But Tyreek Hill, I think, is in a great matchup. Christian Kirk, I think, is in a decent matchup. But then you go down to the flex. Raheem fucking Mostert could score 4 touchdowns this week. Carolina is one of the worst rush defenses in the entire league. But Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, Ken Walker should be in for a good game. It's just too much on Darren's side. And like I said, when you start off the week 17-0 on you each had your kickers going against each other, it's not a great sign for Terry. So yeah, I'm definitely sticking with Darren, sticking with the undefeated streak here. Next matchup, and I got to be honest, saying, which ones I think are most important, least important kind of goes out the window at this point, because every matchup from here on out involves at least 1 2-win team who is probably fighting for their playoff hopes. We have JR with 4 wins versus Greg. Bad showing by Russ, I think, kills JR, and I am going to pick Greg to win this game. I think it's going to be close. What an intertwined and weird game between these two, Dan, because they each have San Francisco's top 2 wide receivers. They also have Brock Purdy. And then San Francisco's defense. So this game is all about what's going to happen with that Browns team. As we know, the Browns are not going to be starting Deshaun Watson. It's going to be PJ Walker this time around. Could be an ugly game. Great for the San Francisco defense, which would heavily benefit, I think that's JR's team, right? Yeah, which would heavily benefit JR. But then if their defense is eating, do they need Brock Purdy as much, which then could hurt Greg? Even though I am picking Greg to win this, I could see a world where this flips to JR's side of things.
If it wasn't for the fact that he's had Russell Wilson as his quarterback, I agree with you. But Russell Wilson already got him 4 points, which is awful. I mean, if you want better quarterback play, maybe don't trade away Joe Burrow.
So I was going to throw in on that, but
I understand Burrow's not been great, but still, he's still Burrow. It's not like he had some chronic injury that was going to cost him his career. I just don't trade away Joe Burrow in that situation.
While we're shaming JR on quarterbacks, by the way, JR threw in the chat he wants a refund on Patrick Mahomes, but there seems to be a part of that trade JR forgets. He got Josh Allen back in that trade. So that means JR in this league has moved on from Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow.
How about this? So check this out. He also had Christian McCaffrey and traded him away.
Yeah.
He had Christian McCaffrey and Patrick Mahomes as his corner pieces for his team and traded them both away because he said it was boring.
He was getting bored. Yep.
I remember
the Mahomes deal, like I said, that was my championship year, but I went back and looked. I actually would have performed better if I had stuck with Allen. Allen was the QB1 that year. So, but I gave up Allen and Godwin to get Mahomes in something because I had to have Mahomes. And so, like I said, JR has now moved on from Mahomes, Burrow, CMC, as you brought up, but Mahomes, Burrow, and Josh Allen, but he needs better quarterback play. I imagine you're picking Greg, right?
Yeah, I'm going with Greg. I don't like Hall going against the Eagles. White going against Detroit defense. It's too much. I think Greg pulls away and gets the win here.
Gotcha. Dan, I have you next. Probably just because I've been shitting on Kenny's team and I'm not ready to break that mold yet. So I'll go first since it's your game. I'm picking you to win. Kansas City defense giving you just a huge leg up coming out of the Thursday night game. Kenny needs the Bengals to be what we saw last week, plain and simple. But I still think what you've already gotten from the KC defense, what you're going to get from Puka and Keenan Allen, it's going to give you the leg up, the big win that you need this week. So I'm definitely picking you to win this matchup. I don't think Kenny has much of a chance.
I completely disagree with you. My team has not scored points. I have Derek Carr at quarterback. I'm going with Kenny to win. I don't expect Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase to have the same numbers they did last week, but I still expect them to be good enough to get the win for Kenny this week.
Interesting. Now, obviously, the bad week out of Javonte Williams, but I hate Kenny's running backs. I don't know. Like I said, I just think I can't look at your team and see Keenan Allen and Puka Nacua because every other position you could argue you get canceled out except for Joe Burrow. But like Jamar Chase, you cancel Jamar Chase out with Keenan Allen. And then he cannot keep up with you with Josh Downs, Jackson Smith, and Jigba versus Puka Nacua and Chris Olave.
Don't you shame Javonte Williams 5.47 points at running back. That is the most points I've gotten at running back in 3 weeks.
Man, you're pulling a Brian this season. But the
Don't
other thing is
shame him.
the other thing is this. First of all, did you watch the Thursday game? I know you're not feeling well, and you're a busy guy now.
I watched a little bit of it, not a
He
ton.
looks good. He legitimately looks good. I think he's going to have a Breece Hall like breakout. I wonder if he's one of the guys they're going to consider shopping.
I just don't understand why they don't use him more. Like he does. He looks good when you see him play. I mean, you have a running back averaging 5 yards a carry at one point. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. But it's the Broncos, and the Broncos are gonna brown.
Yeah, I'm going to be real interested to see where Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy end up because I don't think either one of them makes it out. I don't think either one of them plays for the Broncos next Sunday. I think it's that quick with this long break they have. So that'll be interesting even for the makeup of our league. So you got Kenny, I got you. I got Phil versus Mott's, and this is obviously a hugely important game. Both of these teams hoping to still have a chance at the playoffs, and I think any team that comes out of this week with 2 wins is not going to be in great shape. Obviously, there's still a lot of season to go, but you don't want to be 2-4. One of these teams will be 2-4. Dan, go ahead and get us started here.
I had a real tough time with this matchup because Phil's team does look like it's getting better. Rob's team has been god awful all year. Feel bad for anybody that beat him
or lost
to him. I mean, yeah. But Phil is starting a couple Commanders against the Falcons defense.
Racist bastard.
I'm sick. I'm out of it. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good, man.
The Commanders players going against Atlanta. I don't like that matchup. I think it's time Trevor Lawrence is going to finally play like he's supposed to play like against Indy's defense. So I'm going to go with Motts to get the win.
Got some disagreements this week. I'm taking Phil. I also have it as a close matchup, but the 2 matchups I like are Stephon Diggs and Alvin Kamara. I think they are both in plus matchup games. Kamara taking on Houston. Stephon Diggs taking on the Giants. The Giants can't cover anybody, and they are going to be going with Tyrod Taylor in this game. However, I shit on the guy last week. If Sam Howell turns back into a pumpkin and T-Law plays like a keeper like you think he will, Rob can certainly win this game. But I did want to note Rob's bench is insane. Roshan Johnson out. He just went and picked up Josh Kelly. Zay Jones out. Romeo Dobbs out. He just moved Khalil Herbert to IR. This man is having some injury issues. I guess that happens when you're all the way bought in on one team. But and they haven't even had their bye yet, I don't think, Jacksonville. So disagreement there. I think it's going to be Phil, mainly because Rob's team's probably going to get hurt. But I will say, I agree with you. If T-Law shows up and Sam Howell doesn't show up, I could see it go the other way because I do have it as a close matchup. Next up is going to be Horvath and Taylor. Was a little shocked to see Taylor sitting at 2 wins, Dan. For some reason, I had him way better in my head than he actually is. Horvath sitting at 3 wins. I do have Taylor getting to 3 in this matchup. It's another matchup, as I've pointed out, decided by wide receivers because I just think Taylor is going to have the advantage like he wants to have at wide receiver every single week with what he's going into here. I think they almost cancel each other at every single other position. He's going to need Jonathan Taylor to play a little bit better than what he played last week, but you had a bad game out of Jerry Jeudy. And then Taylor has Cooper Kupp, Nico Collins, and down in his flex, Mike Evans, who could have a big game against Detroit. Whereas Horvath has CeeDee Lamb. You're hoping for a big game against Calvin Ridley. He did eat up the Indianapolis Colts a few weeks ago. Every other position, Horvath, I do like the Eagles' defense against the Jets a little bit better than New England's defense. Which could be another tide turner in this matchup. There's a lot of reasons to like Horvath, but overall, just like with your game, I'm going with the big win at wide receiver. I'm going with Taylor.
Yeah, I have Taylor winning as well. I think he has more of the favorable matchups. Cooper Kupp looked great last week. Collins has looked good. Justin Fields has been unstoppable, and they're going against the Minnesota defense. Has not been great. So, taking Taylor.
Yeah, I think it's an easy one. I do find it interesting with all the quarterback talk, and obviously you threw it in at the very end of last week's show that Taylor has the QB7 sitting on his bench, just pointing and laughing at all of you wannabe playoff teams. And I'm going to be interested to see if he trades them because I know Taylor is a vindictive little prick and isn't going to want to move off of that advantage he has.
He's negotiating with some people. I'm hearing some stuff.
Okay. Uh-oh. I mean, he's going to make a move if he can make a move. Did you? We haven't even discussed the team yet. I don't even remember who has him anymore. Who has Justin Jefferson? He's obviously on waiver or
That's
on IR. Who does that?
Horvath, remember?
Oh, that's right. He's the one who got him in that trade. Did you see the reports today that in 4 weeks he's going to be seeing another doctor to see when he can come back? So this is not a expect him back in 4 weeks thing. So
yeah, how long before this turns into, well, that's because of his contract situation? And
I heard that almost immediately. Yeah. So it's ugly. Lee, thanks for stopping in on the lunch break. We appreciate you, buddy. And I mentioned earlier in the show, we have we've made email contact. We're going to get you on the show next week. We're looking forward to it. While you're here, if you want to tell us who you think your top quarterback and top flex player, or top any other player in the league is going to be, we can get you into the game for next week because we're getting close to that. But just let us know while you're here for a few minutes.
Enjoy your holiday, man.
Yeah, enjoy that time off. All right, and then we're finishing up with me versus Stevie. Dan, I'll let you get us started here.
I have you winning this. I don't trust Saquon coming off that injury. I don't like that. I know you want more out of Patrick Mahomes than you got because you don't really want Patrick Mahomes at 14 points based on your team name there. Is he mid? But I think David Montgomery's going to have a big game with Gibbs out again. McCaffrey's going to McCaffrey all over the Browns' terrible team. Kelsey already got you a big 18. I think it's just too much for Steve to overcome.
I want to have your confidence. I really do. Obviously, I give myself the advantage at running back, but then I look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, and even to a lesser extent, Marquise Brown. I can't willfully take my team against these wide receivers. So I'm giving the win to Stevie. I just don't think I'm going to be able to pull it out. Mahomes didn't do enough because we could see another huge Kirk Cousins game because let's not forget Sam Howell just ate this Bears defense alive. And now we're talking Kirk Cousins with first-round Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne, who's a very underrated player. So every week you're going to hear me say my running backs are better, but his wide receivers are going to crush me. I like his defense better this week too. Just looking forward into the future, that's Buffalo, by the way, versus he has Buffalo versus the Giants. I have Detroit. I like him better this week. But Taylor kind of hinted to this last week, and then Zach Moss gave us a little bit of a mirage. I don't know how long Zach Moss is going to continue this. And now you have Miles Sanders dealing with multiple injuries. Depth is starting to become an issue for Stevie, I think. So
that's the story of Stevie's year every year.
Yeah. No lies detected there. So you got me. I have Stevie. Definitely not doing that on purpose, but won't be upset if it's the same result. Well, no, I'll be upset if it's the same result. I don't want to be right. I want to be very, very wrong. Dan, let's talk playoff teams. So I'm going to give my 6. These are the order I have them in, and I'll talk about the that I think could sneak in still. Darren, no surprise, he is my champion. Taylor is my bye week, though, again, with him sitting at 2 wins, that's getting interesting. Horvath 3rd. I moved you down to 4th, Dan. You were at 3rd. I moved you down to 4th. Stevie at 5th. Greg at 6th. I do think Greg and Stevie are still very much on a bubble. I think the team's fighting for that bubble. As I mentioned, I knocked myself out of the playoffs, or JR, myself, and Terry. And looking at me and Terry's team, I don't think I'll ever be able to put Terry ahead of me because I think we're in the exact same situation at running back and wide receiver where we're both great at running back. We both have wide receivers, but he doesn't have Mahomes and Kelsey. So Terry is always going to be on the outside looking in unless 2 teams take a falter for me. JR needs a win this week, and that makes me look very, very stupid because he's already sitting at 4 wins. This would move him up to 5, and I'm sitting here picking him not to get in, but his quarterback situation needs to get better. So my playoff teams are Darren, Taylor, Horvath, you, Little Stevie, and Greg. Who you got, buddy?
I have Darren, the Steves, you, Greg, and JR as my teams.
Okay, so you have Taylor and yourself out from mine. So quite a big difference there, but we're picking roughly from the same pool of teams. And like I said, I think Terry's just in a very interesting situation that he's created for himself this season. But I mean, I love that he went and picked up, I think it was Terry who just went and picked Josh Kelly up again. We're just going to keep rinsing and repeating with those running backs. So.
I think actually Rob that went and picked him up.
Oh, was it? Okay, I saw someone picked him up. Okay, so Rob, It didn't work for Terry, so it's going to work for Rob now. That's what it was.
Josh Kelly looked terrible because I have Eckler in another league, and when he went down, I picked up Kelly, and that was an awful mistake.
All right, Dan. Those are the playoff teams. Finally, we get to the game that nobody participates in. However, Taylor did beat you by a single point last week. 43 for Taylor.
You can't take the Thursday night guys. Get out of here.
Got you. Got you by a single point with Fields and who the hell did he have? Or no, that's you. Hold on, I'm getting
No,
confused.
he
No,
had
that's
Fields.
Taylor. Yeah. He had okay. I saw Taylor and I was thinking Jonathan Taylor. No, that's Taylor's name is Taylor. Fields and CMC. Taylor got 43. You had Tua and Tyreek getting you 42. Me and Darren were absolute trash. Dan, you want to pick first or second since it's just me and you tonight?
Second.
You're going to go second?
Yep.
All right. Well, that lets me get my pick of the litter. I'm going to take my pick of the litter. I'm going to take Josh Allen and Tyreek Hill.
All right. Back to the drawing board.
Yeah. That's why you better start going first, man.
I like it. I'm going to take Eckler as my flex. And my quarterback, I am going to go with let's go with Burrow.
Okay. A little out of the box thinking there. So Taylor, Drifter, if you guys are in the chat, there's Taylor. I was going to say, if you guys are in the chat, go ahead and make your picks. Taylor defending his crown with Fields and Cup, betting on himself. You love to see it. Drifter, if you get it in here before the end of the show, I'll get you in there. If you guys text me, put it in the board, we'll get you in here. We can talk about you next week. If any of you guys want to join the show, send me a text. We'll get you on the show. I know we're going to have Phil on the week where he plays Dan, so we'll have some fun with that one. And like I said, hopefully Drifter next week. Dan, I know you are tired, ready for bed, ready to feel better. Any parting words for our friends?
I love you guys. It's Massey McKinley week, so Rob, Phil, it's gonna be a long week for you guys. 2,192 days since you've had a victory.
Oh, is it 7 straight?
Yes.
Good Lord. I read something today. I didn't realize it was 7 straight. So
It's gonna be 8
rough.
straight.
Well, it's certainly going to be 8 straight. I don't know shit about high school football, and I know it's going to be 8 straight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And that's with me knowing nothing. Stevie, you suck. I saw you just recently got engaged. I hope she leaves you. I don't know why anyone would choose to marry you with the shit fantasy football team you're putting on the field every week. My team needs to pull out a win this week, even though I'm picking you. I hate you. Good luck. Everyone have a good weekend. Have a nice night.